Welcome back to Random Reads. My name is Casey, in case you didn't know, and this is going to be the third episode of my dollhouse build kind of a thing, where I kind of show you the behind the scenes of making these tedious little dollhouses that I've been working on. So this was the Halloween kitchen that I did, and I know when you're seeing these dollhouses, you're like, they're not really all that Halloween. It's subtle, but it's there. You just have to know what to look for. So I did do this kitchen. So let's dive in, shall we? So this is the unboxing of it. I don't think I've done really an unboxing of one of these kits on the channel, so I figured I'd kind of show you everything that's in it. This actually was a music box, but we'll get into that later. And the first step that I decided to do was building the chairs. And yeah, it was interesting. I don't know who designs these things, but they're just like, let's make everything random colors that doesn't make sense. They were dark blue chairs with white seats and white chairs with blue seats, but I just painted them black. I also did the stop motion with these. So if you are not following me on TikTok or Instagram, probably should do that. I do try to put them on YouTube Shorts, but sometimes I just forget. The one thing that I did like about this kit was the bags were labeled well. They were A, B, C, and D. However, to me, there didn't seem to be a rhyme or reason with how they were bagged up. Because certain pieces you would need stuff from bag A and bag B for the same thing. It just didn't make any sense to me. There wasn't a lot that I could do with the stop motion on this go around, mostly because I ran into some issues with this kit, so I had to get creative. This is me being extra in making seat cushions for the chairs. I took some extra little pieces of wood from my other kit and kind of made like the base of the cushion, and then in a next scene or two you'll see that I will put some fabric over them. So having all those extra pieces, even if they weren't like intentionally for anything, just like gaps or pieces of wood or whatever, it did come in handy to have those and save them for this kit. I ended up using a lot to fill in spots or fix things. So the Post-it note is just kind of my guideline of what the seat of the actual chair, like what the size is. So I use that as my guide for the wood pieces and for the fabric. I was originally going to do a Halloween fabric, but all of them were kind of too busy. So I ended up just doing a plain orange. And what I'm using the white for is to just kind of build up the cushion. Usually you would use like foam rubber or like cotton stuffing, but I didn't have any of that, so I improvised. My dad would be so proud. So cutting out these, obviously you'll see that I did do it bigger than the Post-it note because I wanted to have room to overlap on the cushion, and then just cut off the excess fabric. I still think with any of these kits, doing the furniture is my favorite. I love doing the stop motions, and I hope everybody enjoys them. I want to do some more, but I need some ideas. I've got a couple that I'm going to be doing soon. The next thing that I had to work on was the table, which the way they had you do it just made no sense. And sometimes I think with these kits, the directions are more like guidelines, because sometimes there's an easier way to do it and it actually looks better. The way they had you do the table, once you got all the pieces, was to put the legs on the base part first and then put it on the table, but it didn't quite line up right, so I ended up just putting them directly on the table and just kind of building it around it that way, and it worked a lot better. And again, I also painted that all black. And this is the finished product in a little corner there. I did do a live while I was painting though, so make sure that you are following me on TikTok so you don't miss any lives. So I think here we're just working on cutting out some of the labels for the tiny little bead things, and doing the plants. I start doing some of the bead decorations, but it's kind of hard to see half of it on the camera. I do try to show it, but with doing it in the time lapse like this, it doesn't show up very well. But this is where I'm working on the plant. There was a couple of different ones, and I think I did only the one because some of the things just don't work out. I try them and it doesn't look right, so I don't include it, and I find something else to put in that spot and it works out great. In this next clip, you'll see the little pots and pans that I did. I don't think I did any recording on that. It was just one of those things that I started doing. I showed my friend who was also doing a kit a while back, and she's like, "Oh, you're doing another one?" I'm like, "Yeah, these things are addicting to me." I'm already thinking about what's the next one I'm going to do. I did build the countertops off camera because that was just the kind of mood I was in. So, yeah. But building the top part is what we're doing here. And in a second, I'm going to try to show you, but you're not going to really be able to see what the heck I'm talking about, so I'm going to try to explain. So there was a curtain rod that you had to make, and the way the directions showed, it was like there's these two little square things, see, two of those, and then in the kit there was only one, and in the materials list there was only one. So I have no idea what the heck they were trying to do, but I ended up just not using any of them, and it worked out fine. There was a lot of instances like that. It was like, what is this piece for? And it wasn't listed anywhere, or I don't know if I was missing pieces or what, but I know I was missing some paper that I had to kind of finagle myself for the kitchen island. So, and luckily I have enough creativity to where I can figure this stuff out, but I know there's people that probably wouldn't. They just have exactly what's in the kit and expect everything's in the kit. One thing that bothered me with this kit was the orange pieces of wood kind of rubbed off on the white, so I did have to paint over some of the spots. There was a lot of flipping back and forth because I had to look at the directions, look at the items, measure the items, because they weren't, even though they were clearly marked in the bag, they weren't marked as pieces. And there were some that were like almost identical. They were just off by like a smidgen of a centimeter, and that matters. So I had to do a lot of flipping back and forth and a lot of measuring. I also skipped around a lot in this kit, because a lot of times if I get stuck on something, I'll either get so consumed by it that I won't want to continue finishing it, or I get so aggravated. So I'll start working on something, and if I get stuck on something, I'll go to another step. But always, if you do that, make sure that those steps aren't crucial into the setup. Because like a lot of the times with these kits, there's lighting fixtures and whatnot, so that does matter. But for like some of the stuff that I was doing is like I'll work on some of the decorations, and then when that got either boring or frustrating, I would work on something else that I knew wouldn't matter for the integrity of the build. Not saying I didn't make any mistakes on the way. It really aggravated me when all the paper stuff was rolled up. It made it hard to kind of cut around. the last two kits, everything was kind of placed nicely. This one was just kind of like, meh. This is one of the walls with the window. And a little tip, and I'm sure this is probably common sense to most people, but brushing out the glue like that did help, and it didn't make it so bubbly. Obviously, there were some spots that I probably could have brushed out more, but it turned out okay. So I do recommend doing that. That wall is the back wall, and that little gap is where the lighting fixture little switch would go, and the hole is for the music box portion. But again, I attempted to do the music box, but it just didn't work out. But you'll see that clip in a minute. I am all over the place in these videos. I cut out so much of me just getting up, walking around. It's ridiculous. This floor drove me nuts. Obviously you can see that I had it glued down, and then I went to put it down, and there's a little hole in the corner that's supposed to line up with the paper for a light fixture, which is a stupid spot for a light fixture. Let me point that out. But it didn't line up, and I thought I had it flip-flopped. I did not. It just didn't line up. And same with this music box. So I was trying to put it in, and it was pretty self-explanatory. You know, you took the little wind-up thing off, and then you screwed it into the wall. However, the holes in the wall did not line up with the music box. No matter which way I flipped it, turned it, bopped it, flipped it, it just didn't work. So I decided it wasn't going to be a music box. And I think if you do any of these types of kits, going in the mindset that it might not be exactly what it's supposed to be, you'll be better off. And in my case, I didn't necessarily want it to be exactly like it was in the picture anyway, so that stuff doesn't bother me. But I know some people are perfectionists with that kind of stuff, so just keep that in mind. And also, I can't stress this enough, and even though I've made this mistake 3 times now, pay attention to how you glue things. I went by the picture. I swear I went by the picture because I was very okay, I looked at it 10 times before I glued it, and I did it exactly how they did it, but it was wrong. So I had to tear it apart and re-glue some of the walls because it didn't line up quite right. The floor base was kind of interesting, the way this one was set up. So it had multiple layers, kind of, but then it went on one, equal base type of thing. This one I was building kind of the dining room platform, and I had to figure out the sizing of the orange pieces of wood because they were just slightly off. And even though I tried my hardest, there were still some gaps. But it still turned out okay. The one thing I really enjoyed about this kit was the little details that they included. The orange slices and the watermelon slices I thought really were extra, and I really enjoyed stuff like that. So I think I show it here, but I glue it on, and you can kind of see that it's overlapping a little bit on that one wall with the hole in the back where the fixture would go. But my brain was like, oh, it'll work out, because I thought the way the dining room would connect would kind of fill that gap. It did not. So you could see there, it's got a gap between the little half wall and the major wall. I can words good. The windows were really snug. That one wasn't so bad, but you'll see later the other 3 windows that I had to put in, I had to finagle in there because they were just, it was so tight. So you can kind of see there where the microwave countertop is. You can see that gap between where that white piece of board, little piece of board, connects with the wall. That's not supposed to be like that. And I don't believe I fixed it on camera because I think I was obsessing over it when my husband got home, and I was like, what do I do? And he's like, I don't think it looks that bad. And I was just like, snap. I snapped it in pieces and fixed it myself. And like, you could kind of see where I messed up, but these things are just going on a shelf. They're not being sold or anything. They're just for me, so I don't really care. So that is the window wall that I'm working on, and that gave me such a headache. Like, I contemplating not having a dining room at one point because it just was not working out. I had to repaint them white because, like I said before, there was some orange on them, and it was bothering me. It just didn't look clean. So I did repaint those, and I painted the countertops and anything else that had any orange that was scraped off. In case anybody was wondering what color white I used, it was called Snow White. I don't know why it made me laugh when I found it. I was like, oh, okay. And the orange I used for the kitchen island thing, which you don't see in half of these videos, is a harvest orange. I used a jack-o'-lantern orange, but between that and the black that I was originally going to do, it looked like I was, making a Harley Davidson kitchen, and that just was not working for me. No hate on Harley Davidson. It's just, I'm not a biker chick. I'm a Halloween chick. So I ended up repainting the part that I did black into a white so it matched the countertops. I really liked the idea of having the little knickknacks in the shelf, and it kind of made it look like a decorative shelf, but you can't really see it, and I wish they kind of did that a little differently, but I think it looks pretty cool regardless. And I did put a pumpkin up there. You can't see it though, but if you see a little bit of orange up there, that's what that is. A little tip on doing the windows. For another kit, I tried to cut out and then glue the clear plastic onto the window. That didn't work out for me. So what I did is I took the full piece of plastic and then just glued the windowsills onto it and then cut around it and then used like an X-Acto knife to clean up the edges and whatnot. In my opinion, that worked out a lot better. This struggle here is where I was almost like, we're not going to have a dining room, because I couldn't figure out how to get it to line up right. In trying to do this video is ridiculous because it's like I'm all over the place, because when I get so frustrated, it's like I set aside and keep going. But with the little half wall, the way they had it designed was the 2 longer pieces of window were going on the back, and it's set behind the dining room floor. And then the little half wall was supposed to just kind of sit on top of the flooring, which would have been fine, but it wouldn't line up. And I know part of that was probably because most of the things that I glue together end up crooked, but you could have been dead on, and I don't think it would have worked right. There was a gap somewhere along the line, no matter what I did. I did have to round out the edges of the windowsills because they were really pointed, and the windows themselves were more rounded, so I did have to file down the corners to get them to fit in, and it ended up busting because it was, like I said, so snug, but you can't really tell, and I put curtains over them anyways, so it worked out. And that is the beauty of me. I can hide little mistakes like that, and it is okay. I might be a perfectionist, but I also know how to hide the mistakes. I'm so glad that I couldn't get the glue to stick in this part, and I don't know why sometimes it does it. Maybe it's the crafting gods being like, no, 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 that's not going to work. We're not going to let you stick this. Yeah, I don't know if you could see my frustration as it goes by so quickly, but it just, I'm like, maybe if I do this, nope, nope, still a gap there. Maybe if I do, nope, nope, this, nope, nope, that's still not working. I must have tried. I cut out a lot of footage too. I must have tried 30 different ways to try to get this to line up. And no matter what I did, there was either going to be too much dining room floor that just kind of overhung on the end where that little half window is, or there was going to be a gap between the kitchen and the dining room. And that just, it was going to drive me crazy no matter what. So, and that's the major base that I was talking about. So both pieces go on that. And I thought, maybe that would make it better. Maybe that'll make everything line up. Spoiler alert, it didn't. So, I cut a piece of cardboard and I made my own wall. I found some pretty scrapbook paper that looked like wallpaper. And it was like a grayish with orange spots in it. So I thought that was perfect for what I was going for. And yeah, I just made my own wall. You could see the coffee sampler on the other side, which I knew would bug me, so I put some other scrapbook paper. I just used the white side of that black paper, so that way it matched the rest of the white. And then this is, again, me still trying to figure out how I was going to make this look all cohesive and like it was supposed to be there. And again, I am so glad that I kept all the little extra pieces from the previous kits because that was a lifesaver. So once I glued the cardboard onto the dining room floor and connected it to the kitchen, what I did was I took like long pieces of thin wood that was from the other kits. I painted them white and put them over the edges of the cardboard so it didn't look like cardboard. You know how it's got those like gaps in between, air pockets, if you will. So I put the white pieces of board over top of that to clean it up a little bit. And this is when I decided, oh, I'm going to put this window here. So I didn't waste the windows, which made me happy. And there I had to repaint because I tore it off and the glue kind of messed up the wood. So I had to repaint those. But I was glad that I was able to still use those windows. And I honestly think it looks better. But that just could be me tooting my own horn. And then also there was supposed to be 3 different lighting fixtures. One was in the floor in the random corner. One was in the kitchen. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There was supposed to be 4 lighting fixtures. One in the floor, one in the kitchen, like in the countertops, and one in that little window on the side, and then one in the dining room. I did put the one in the kitchen together on the in the countertop, but I stupidly messed it up later on when I was putting things together. I pulled the wires too hard, and it came undone, and I couldn't get back there to reattach them because everything had been glued in. And if I did that, I would have destroyed the house. So this is me staging the house. I just kind of put random things that weren't even suggested in the kit. I'm pretty proud of myself for it. I made, the cool picture, got the hanging plant, the planter in the corner, all that fun stuff. But I did have the lights working at one point. Like I said, I did pull the cord out, and the light above the windows would not reach where they had it, so I couldn't use that one. And then the lighting in the dining room just didn't make any sense to me. So if it doesn't make sense, I don't do it. What I did do is I had these little fairy light things, little miniature like twinkle lights. I put those in there instead, and I think it turned out pretty cool. The curtains I did were like an owl scrapbook paper, like an Halloween owl themed scrapbook paper. And I love how everything turned out in this thing. As I'm going, it's like, I don't know if this is going to be too busy or if this is going to be too much, but it always just works out great. And I'm always so pleased with how these turn out. And I hope you enjoy seeing these because I really do enjoy building them. It kind of keeps my brain a little bit sane, if that's even a possibility. But like the details of like the stove, having the knobs on it, not that you can see it. And I did add like a checkered backsplash just to be extra. And there I finally put the kitchen island. Where the white is, I did have that black, but to me it was too much. It was giving me Harley Davidson vibes. I didn't like it. So I just painted over it and gave it the white and orange. And I think it looks better. Doing the last stop motion, and again, like I said, if you're not following me on TikTok, you should. But the last stop motion I did, I wanted Alfredo to be cutting up the watermelon. That was more challenging than I thought it would be, but I think it turned out pretty good. Oh, and someone had commented that there should be a candy bowl, so I was extra and made a candy bowl. I found some printables on Etsy of candy wrappers, and yeah, it was pretty cool. I think this is my favorite part, is putting it all together and then like seeing all of it kind of unfold in a way that like, this is all the hard work that I did, and now it looks like a little house, and I don't have anything else to do with it. So in the comments, tell me what your favorite part of this build was. I think doing the dining room, after I figured out what needed to be done, I think that came out the best. But I love everything about this thing. I also did the bar stools a little bit different than what was recommended. This is what it was supposed to look like. As you can see, you've got the back window and the side window, and then like this clear fence type thing, which I decided I didn't want to do. And there was some clutter items that I didn't include in my build because, you know, that's just how I am. And then the next couple of pictures, you'll see how it turned out. So I like the pictures on the back wall. That's like my version of like pressed leaves and flowers. Then you can kind of get like a side view here of where the shorter curtains are, and Alfredo just hanging out by the cutting board, and Pepper is just stealing all the candy for herself. But yeah, I was pretty proud of that candy bowl. But I hope you enjoyed, and be sure that you are subscribed and click the bell notification so you don't miss any videos. And I hope to see you on the next one.